AFR Talk.
You're listening to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Just a couple of follow-up pieces on the McDaniel race. And again, I encourage you to go to RileyConcern.com. I've got a column up there, that giant sucking sound, conservatives fleeing the GOP's big tent. Back to Neil Monroe's piece. I started this earlier. Volunteers working for Tea Party challenger Chris McDaniel say they have already found 20% of the invalid double votes they need to cancel Senator Thad Cochran's business-funded runoff victory. Noel Fritsch, McDaniel's press aide, said, we're finished with Hinds County, and we're up to 1,500. I mean, if they get to 6,700 votes that are invalid, you have to call for another election. You have to do it. A judge is going to have to do it if he'd just be compelled to do it by everything that's right and holy and decent if they find that there are 6,700 votes and they're 20%, well, they're beyond 20% of the way there if they're at the 1,500 threshold, and this was before today. McDaniel can force another runoff if he can find more invalid votes than Cochran's roughly 7,000 vote margin of victory on June 24, 6,700 votes, actually. Now, according to Monroe, GOP officials who are affiliated with Cochran's campaign are trying to block McDaniel's search for invalidated votes that are recorded in the poll books. This is according to Fritsch. So they're trying to run out the clock until they can get Governor Phil Bryant to certify this election. Fritsch says they're stalling in at least half of the counties across the state. Some are asking for large fees, saying it's going to cost you to take a look at the poll books, throwing up every roadblock imaginable. Remember, the law says you've got to make these poll books available to the public at large. You don't have to pay money to see these things. They are required by law to furnish these to the public. Now, 84,000 votes were cast in the Democratic primary to find 7,000 invalid votes. About 8.5% of the 84,000 people who cast votes in the Democratic primary would also have had to cast votes in the GOP runoff. Now, that's not outside the realm of possibility at all in my mind. 84,000 Democrats voted on June 3 in the Democratic primary. It's not impossible that 1 out of 12 of those also voted in the Republican primary. Remember, these are voters that are engaged. They showed up to vote on June 3, so these are people that will go to the polls and vote. Now, these people are out there. Somebody comes around flashing a wad of cash and says, hey, I need to have you go to the polls in the runoff and vote for Senator Cochran. They don't know that they're not eligible. They're not dialed in on Mississippi election law. They're probably not even being told that they're ineligible to vote. They just know they're getting money to get on the church van and go to the polling station and pull the lever for Cochran, and so they do it. Poll workers don't have the Democratic poll books from June 3, so they're not even in a position to check whether this person has voted before, so they just give them a ballot and let them vote. So I think you've got definitely a possibility that this entire election is sinking and going to have to be thrown out. And there were 19,000 absentee voters that cast ballots in the GOP runoff. 19,000 absentee votes. And remember, we had that story earlier from Notary Public, or Notaries Public. It probably technically would be Notaries Public, where they were grabbing absentee ballots, finding people that hadn't voted, and they were filling out these absentee ballots for people that had no idea that now they got a vote registered in their name by these Notaries Public who were breaking the law, obviously, to do that. Now, the Democrats are out there telling Senator Cochran, look, we own you. They're already out there with a laundry list of what they are going to demand that Senator Cochran do for them. So now Senator Cochran is in hock to Democrats. He owes them, and they're pressing it. Already they're out there. You owe us big time. Here's what we are going to demand that you do in exchange for the fact that we gave you your Senate seat. So now Senator Cochran's working for the Democrats. He's working for the Black Congressional Caucus. He's working for the Congressional Black Caucus. He's not working for the Republican Party anymore. He's now working for the Congressional Black Caucus. They've got a laundry list. They're going to insist that he do the things that they want him to do. Now, the grassroots Republicans in Mississippi pretty unhappy about this. Here's a a poll from Chisholm Strategies, and this is a poll taken of about 850 Republicans, and 54% of the people they polled voted for McDaniel, 46% voted for Cochran, and that was about the spread in the Republican primary. If you throw out the Democrat votes, McDaniel probably won by 8 points. That's what 538 said, and I think that's accurate. You toss out the Democrat votes, and it's just a Republican primary, McDaniel wins this thing by 8 points. So people know that he was cheated. People know that this was a fraudulent election, that this was unethical at best and flatly illegal at worst, and that McDaniel had something stolen from him that rightfully, ethically belongs to him. So 54% of the people they polled said there should be a thorough investigation. 50% of them said, look, this has changed the way I look at Haley Barbour. I used to think more highly of Haley Barbour than I do now. Remember, it's his PAC that was behind these robocalls, behind these race-baiting flyers. So 50% of Mississippi voters, Republicans, think less of Haley Barbour now than they did then. You know, and one of the suspicions all the way along here is that the big picture here was for Haley Barbour to engineer this victory for Thad Cochran. Then Thad Cochran, he's obviously aging. He's obviously doesn't have the kind of mental acuity he had early in his life. And the big picture was he'll hold office for a year or two, then he's going to retire, and then Haley Barbour will be appointed in his place. That was the big picture. Now, I don't know if that's true. It's just a rumor. I've heard it from a number of different sources. Can't verify it. I'm not saying it's true. But if that was the plan, well, that plan has just been blown completely out of the tub, and Haley Barbour can forget about being a senator from the state of Mississippi. Now, 22% of these Republicans polled said they're going to vote for Thad Cochran in November, and 21% said they'd vote for Travis Childers. So here's 46% of these people voted for Cochran in the runoff, and now that number's been cut in half. Only 22% are saying they're so turned off, they're so disgusted by what the Republican Party did, that only 22% of them are going to show up and vote for Thad Cochran in November. And just as many Republicans say they're planning to vote for Travis Childers. Travis Childers is pro-life. He's against same-sex marriage. He's a tax and spend guy, just like Thad Cochran is. What is the difference? And a lot of Republicans are starting to see that. Now, this is interesting. Then we'll go to the phones, 888-589-8840. Here's the question. If Chris McDaniel ran on a third-party ticket, would you support him? 79% said definitely. Absolutely, definitely. I would support Chris McDaniel if he ran on a third-party ticket. And another 8% said they probably would. Ladies and gentlemen, that means that 87% of Republicans who voted in the runoff said that they either probably or definitely would support Chris McDaniel as a third-party candidate. And then they were asked, would you support him if he ran as a write-in candidate? And 81% of them said probably or definitely. 74% said absolutely, definitely, I would write in Chris McDaniel's name. Now, we discovered as a quirk in Mississippi law that the write-in votes don't count. It's strange. They got a line there. You're supposed to be able to write anybody's name you want, but they don't count the votes unless one of the two people that's on the ballot dies. So you can write in a name. Nobody knows that. I mean, you see a write-in line there, you think your vote's going to count for whoever you write in. Turns out it's not true. But I'm willing to bet there are going to be a whole bunch of Republicans that are going to write in Chris McDaniel's name anyway if these results stand. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's grab a call from Todd in Tampa, Florida. Todd, Tampa, Florida, welcome. By the way, somebody asking about the court decision today and how it would affect the baker in Oregon, not a gay baker, the baker. And in reality, it should protect his religious liberty. This ruling, because it's about RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, should protect the baker in Oregon. Now, I don't know how all that's going to work, but it should, because the point of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, Chuck Schumer bill that Bill Clinton signed in 1993, was there to protect religious liberty. And the Supreme Court said today, hey, religious liberty, that is a protected right for closely held businesses. Private business, you got your own business, you run your own business, your religious liberty to run it as you see fit, that's what we are protecting today. So the photographers and the florists and the bakers ought to be protected by this ruling today. Whether that'll be the case, I don't know. Let's go to Todd. Todd, welcome, Tampa, Florida. What's on your mind?
Well, Brian, you're hitting a lot of great points today. The Hobby Lobby decision was a great decision. I do agree with you. It was a makeup call by John Roberts, who we should be bringing Obamacare, which is a total disaster. The taxes haven't hit yet. And let me hold the floor for 60 seconds here, and then have you jump in, and I'll close. Let me say something to the American people. We have to take dominion in Jesus' name. Okay, Jesus Christ. No matter what, and I have no respect for this president who swore on the Bible that he would uphold the Constitution, and he said he was a Christian. Okay, and so I have no respect for him. No, and period. Okay, so you come out and say you're a Muslim Marxist, and we'll vote, and if you win the election, then I'll have respect for you. But when you come out and say you're a Christian and you stand with Jesus Christ and you vote, you're for abortion, you're for gay marriage. No, you're a disgrace to America. American people are ashamed of our president of the United States. You wasted $7 trillion, and Jeffrey Immelt of GE doesn't even want to be seen with you, and you're going to tell us that you need to raise the minimum wage. You don't have any shovel-ready jobs. The American people have lost total confidence in Barack Obama. Not that we had any in any man anyway, because our faith is in Jesus Christ. And the United States of America is a Christian nation, one nation face down at the feet of the Master, the Messiah, the Savior, Jesus Christ. Let me say something to Rodney Howard-Brown, who's going to Washington. You should go there. I'm going to try and make it, God willing, if my family allows and things be able to. But to stand there and let Jesus Christ know that we're asking him to take back the Washington, where Harry Reid hasn't passed a budget in 4 years, and Barack Obama's budget was voted down 99-0. No, we don't want amnesty, and I'm glad Eric Cantor got booted out. No,
all right, Todd. Well, listen, I hate to cut you off, but I'm absolutely out of time. You were just on a roll, my friend. I think a lot of people listening agree with everything you were saying. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, Hobby Lobby proves we're fighting a winnable war. See you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
American Family Radio.
AFR Talk.
Technology is on.